Hello, good morning and good afternoon. This is Garin Hess at Demochimp, and welcome to today's webinar called Life's Too Short for Live Demos. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to participate today, and I hope that the things that I have to share will be helpful to you. And just to make sure we cover a few housekeeping items first, I would like to just first of all make sure you can hear me. There's a little interface that you have with GoToWebinar. If you can hear me, just click the hand button, which will raise your hand. So just want to make sure, okay, good. Looks like the audio is working okay. So got several people raising their hands. So I'm going to go ahead and lower everybody's hand now. So thanks for that. Also just want to mention there's a question area in the interface that will let you ask questions. I will be happy to answer questions at the conclusion of my presentation. So I'll go through the presentation and then I'll go through any questions that are out there and review those at that time. There are also going to be, as part of this webinar today, some poll questions to help us understand who you are in general as an audience and understand and kind of share that data with each other so that everybody can get a sense for different aspects of the questions related to product demos that we're talking about as a group together today. So I'll bring those up in just a little bit here. So feel free to put those questions in the question area whenever you feel like you have the question. You don't have to wait till the end to put the question in. It's just I won't get to the question till the end. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get rolling here. And first of all, I just want to introduce myself. I'm the founder and CEO of Demochimp. And the reason we founded Demochimp is simply to automate product demonstrations. When I worked for my previous startup, we were a B2B software company doing a lot of live product demonstrations for other companies. And I remember one day I did 6 product demos in a row. And I was just exhausted. They were all good conversations, but I remember thinking there's got to be some way to automate that. And we didn't ever successfully do that because there's a lot more to it than just putting together some screen recordings or videos. If any of you have tried to do that, that maybe we were anticipating at the time. But after that company was acquired and I had worked for the company that acquired us for about a year, I left to start something new, and I was asking this question about how could we solve this problem of automating product demos. And so that's a little bit of my background, and I'll just share a picture of myself here. I've got 3 kids, live here in Utah. I grew up in the state of Utah and then moved away for about 12 years and came back about 7 or 8 years ago, and just really enjoy the area. But have traveled extensively and just would love to welcome any of you from wherever you're at. I wish I had a chance to sit down and talk with each of you, but we've got quite a few people here attending today. I do want to understand each of you a little bit as a group, and so I'm going to ask some poll questions here that I think will be interesting for you to help set the stage for the challenges related to product demos and also to better understand how you are as a group, and I'll share the results here with everybody. So I'm going to start with this question of how important is the product demo in your current sales process. So if you can answer that, you should see that now on your screen, and go ahead and just click the responses there. And once we're done responding, I will share the results here. And so far, I'm not seeing any results, so wondering if you're seeing the question there. So I'm going to ask somebody on my team, Richard, if you're on the call, if you can let me know if the poll question is showing up here. Okay, we are getting some results here now. So if you can go ahead and respond to that. We've got about half of you who have responded now. So question is, how important is this in your own sales process, doing product demos, which I would guess that it's pretty important, because that's otherwise I'm not sure why you'd be in this webinar. But so I'll wait till we've got about 70% of you or so have voted, and then we'll kind of share the results. Okay, so we've got about 70% have voted on the poll, so I'm going to close the poll and share the results with you. So you should be able to see that now, and you can see that about 2/3 of you are indicating this is very important. About 1/3 of you are saying it's somewhat important to the sales process. To all of you, it's at least somewhat important, right? The product demo, most people make purchasing decisions based on understanding the product and so on. And so I'm going to hide these results, going to ask you another question here. Thanks for sharing that. So this is an interesting question. If you're doing a product demo, how long is your product demo? So is it a brief demo? Is it, is it an hour? Is it longer than an hour? I know at my last startup, it was 45 to 60 minutes. In my own company, we were doing software demos over the internet using GoToMeeting usually. And so this is one of the challenges with live product demos. It's so labor intensive, and it can take quite a long time to actually do the demo. So again, we'll wait till about 70% or so of you have voted, and then we'll kind of share those results. I hope you find it interesting. By the way, I should mention that even though you can hear me, I have everybody on mute just because we have so many people attending. It wouldn't make sense to have audio for everybody. But again, if you have questions, just put those in the Q&A area. So I'm going to close the poll, and I'll share that with you. So we look at that, about half of you have maybe 15 to 30 minutes on the demo, and a quarter of you greater than 60 minutes, and then the rest of you somewhere between a half an hour and an hour. So very interesting. Thanks for that. Okay, so one more question here, and we're going to, then we'll move into some other content. So what are you selling? Are you selling tangible products? And this one, just click is all that apply. Is it software? Is it B2B? Is it B2C? Is it your services company? So there are implications using sort of pre-recorded product demos for each of these sort of categories. So we've got about 60% of you have responded. I'll wait for just a couple more of you to chime in before we share the results here. Okay, so we're going to share these results to get a sense for how you are as an audience. So about a quarter of you have tangible products, a third in software, about half in services, and then most of you are doing B2B. Okay, that's great. So the challenge around, one of the challenges around product demos is, or I should say in sales, is how do we increase the prospective customers' education, so knowledge of the product, and then not just education, but also in a persuasive way, help them feel comfortable that the solution that we have is going to solve their problems. Obviously, we want it to be a real solution for them and not just something we're proposing as a solution that doesn't really make sense. But there's really sort of two aspects to it: education, so they understand how it works, and then also just, do they understand the benefits they're going to reap from it? And video-based demos can have a tremendous impact on this. So one of the questions is, how much does product video increase a purchasing decision? So the answer is it increases it on average about 85%. This is comes from a study done by a firm called Internet Retailer. And this is for e-commerce stores. So that may not seem to apply as much to, say, B2B SaaS companies or software companies and so on. But this particular metric is an average across a bunch of companies. And there are some other studies done inside of companies that indicate that it could be even much higher than that. The likelihood to purchase after they've seen a video versus not having a video is, on average, 85%. That's pretty big. And so should you have video-based product demos as some part of your solution, I would absolutely say yes. Now, what's the difference between having just a video online and having an intelligently automated product demo? That's really part of the question here is a video online a product demo? Well, if you look at what happens in a live demo, when I'm demoing a product for a group of people in person, it's more than just a one-way conversation. I'm going to be presenting, but I'm also going to be presenting based on what the particular prospective customer needs. So I'm not just going to get up and, unlike at a webinar, where in a webinar, because there's so many different people from different backgrounds, it's mostly a one-way conversation, other than, I have these poll questions and things like that. But in a live demo, I'm trying to engage in a way that I understand their needs and I can tailor the demo to their unique interests. And then I also am going to use the information I get back to better position my conversation with them in the future for a sale. That may seem obvious, but I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is simply that in order to get that benefit from a recorded demo, you need a platform that's actually going to help with that kind of solution, and not just where you're just posting videos online. I think one of the ways to help illustrate the benefit of intelligent product demonstrations, and of course, we could have a whole webinar just on how to do effective live demonstrations. What we're talking about today is how do we automate them? And why would we want to automate product demonstrations? I think there are a number of problems that need to be solved. I'd like to know if you guys have these problems. And so the problems are these questions. Do you have inconsistent quality from sales rep to sales rep? In other words, sales rep A gives a great demo, sales rep B, it's not so great. So you're constantly trying to decide, well, who's going to demo for this good, this great prospect here, and having to choose there. That's one problem. Another one is the sales cycle goes long because you have to demo multiple times before you can close the sale. And then the difficulty of discovering and engaging the buying panel, that's part of what creates the long sales cycle. And then simply, are we spending too much time doing product demos, especially for people that don't progress, right? We maybe do 100 product demos, and out of the 100 demos that we do, how many of those actually progress towards a sale, right? Maybe we're spending a lot of time using that demo to qualify people, and we could be more efficient about that. So I'd like to understand, I'm going to launch this poll question and check all that apply here. Which of these are problems for you as an audience here? So beyond inconsistency, one of the challenges I've heard people talk about is onboarding, right? How do you onboard sales reps fast enough to and give them enough experience with the product, being able to demo effectively, to be able to get them up to speed and demo quickly. So we've got over half of you have voted on here so far. We'll wait for a few more and then share these results. So ultimately, what I'm hoping to do today is help you see how you might be able to solve some of these problems using intelligent demo automation. So we've got about 80% of you voted, so I'm going to share the results here. So 17% are concerned about demo quality, 60% or so talk about the sales cycle. Yeah, that's a pain point, isn't it? Being too long because you have to demo multiple times. So discovering and engaging the buying panel, how do we find out who's in on the purchasing decision, and how do we engage them in a way that is meaningful? And then simply, are we spending too much time? It's a hard question because you say, well, demos are really important, right? So am I wasting my time doing that, or am I spending my time wisely? And it really depends on if you've got a great prospect there or not. But in reality, if we can automate some of that in a way that's intelligent, not just a video, just send them a link on YouTube where you're really not sure if they watched it, when they watched it, how much time they spent, what was important to them. That's kind of what I would say is kind of the traditional way that people try to automate the demo, and it doesn't work real well because it's just a video. Now, if you have a really simplistic product, that might be helpful, but if you're selling anything more complex than something that can be explained in 20 or 30 seconds, you may need more assistance with that. So, and then I'm going to hide these results. So I want to explain, kind of expound on these concerns here. Oh, I have one more question actually related to the concerns that I wanted to bring out, and that does. Let's say I didn't have a question on this in the polls, I guess. We'll come back to these other questions, but let me go through this scenario, and we can kind of expound on these problems and how this relates to intelligent demo automation. So we'll call this guy John. He is a VP of sales at a mid-market company. For the sake of a scenario, we'll say he's at a software company. And John has a problem. It's similar to the problems that you guys have. He is doing a lot of live demos, 45 to 60 minutes each. And because of that, his sales reps can handle only 4 demos a day. Now, you might think, well, that's good because we're doing a lot of demos, but he's got a lot of deal flow, and they have to decide who gets a live demo and who doesn't. And it's one of the challenges he has, because not only does he have to do 4 demos a day, but I mean, he has a maximum of doing 4 demos a day, but he has to do on average a demo 3 times before he can close a customer sale. And the reason he has to do this is because he's got multiple people in the buying panel that have got to see the demo. Sometimes they'll all come in and watch the demo at the same time, but usually it's you show the demo to one person and they say, oh, yeah, I'd like this other guy to see it, and oh, by the way, somebody in legal department's got to see it, and so on. The industry average is 5 to 6. 5 to 6 times in B2B, got to demo your product before you can get a sale to close. We actually met somebody, a company here in Utah, as a matter of fact, that had an average demo. They had to demo 11 times on every sale. That might suggest they have some sales process challenges as well. But the point is that it elongates the sales cycle. If you combine these inefficiencies, you've got John and his sales team, they've got about a maximum pipeline of 28 prospects they can handle at a time. So the problem is they're just spending too much time demoing and not enough time closing. And because they have to demo multiple times, their sales cycle gets stretched out. And it doesn't have to be this way. This is the problem a lot of firms are facing. We've talked to a lot of different companies, and 77% of them report that these problems around live product demos, this is an extreme pain point for them. Most companies are able to automate many other parts of sales and marketing. You've got great marketing automation tools to deal with lead gen and lead flow and lead scoring and things like that. And you've got great CRM tools like Salesforce and other kinds of CRMs that can help you with managing your contacts and following up with them in the sales process and managing your pipeline and so on. But how can you automate the product demonstration? Well, at DemoChamp, that's what we're trying to do. And so I want to give you a sense for what happens in John's life with DemoChamp. So let's just say that John gets a lead on his website, and we'll call her Sarah. So somebody on John's team calls her up, says, hey, Sarah, I noticed you signed up on our website and would like to set up an appointment to discuss this with you and see if it's a good fit. She says, well, that sounds great. And he says, how about Friday? She says, okay, sounds good. So he says, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a pre-recorded product demonstration. Oops, let me jump back out here. So pre-recorded product demonstration. And I'd like it if you could watch that before our appointment on Friday. She says, well, that'd be great. I'd love to see it right away. So he uses DemoChamp to send her a product demonstration. The first thing that she sees when she opens it is an area where she gets to indicate what's important to her, what's somewhat important, and what's not important to her. An expert sales rep in a live situation would ask similar questions so that he or she could tailor the live product demonstration to that prospect's unique interest. DemoChamp automates this, and based on her responses, it stitches together a unique experience from different video segments of the product demonstration into a unique experience based on her interests. It goes into not only a certain sequence, but it goes in more depth on the things that she is very interested in. It gives kind of a summary overview of those things that are somewhat important to her, and then it skips over the things that are not important to her. DemoChamp also loads documents into this document library that DemoChamp decides might be relevant to her interest based on how she responded. She can jump around in the demo up here by using the menu if she wants. Otherwise, it will just go straight through through the demo as DemoChamp's personalization engine decides based on those interests. She also has a link over here to share the demo. And we'll talk a little bit about this later. Well, when she watches the demo, John gets notified. So he gets an email that says, hey, Sarah just watched your demo. So he picks up the phone and calls her and says, hey, Sarah, I saw that you were watching the demo. How's it going? She says, well, I really like it. Incidentally, by the way, a little side note, if you call your customers, your prospective customers, while they're watching the demo, meaning you get a notification, you can actually have a 95% connection rate. And what's interesting is the conversations you have with your customers while they're thinking about your product, right? Usually you try to call them and you don't know what they're doing. But if you call them while they're thinking about your product, you can have some spontaneous, great conversations. So in this situation, he calls and she says, I think this is great, but I've got 3 other people that are in on this decision. I can't make this decision by myself. So he says, well, why don't you share the product demo with them? So she shares the demo with everybody in that buying panel. And they each get an email invitation from Sarah saying, hey, Sarah wants you to watch this product demo. So they watch it. They get their own personalized experience. In the background, DemoChamp notifies John who she shared it with and how they interact with the demo. So he starts getting visibility into the buying panel. So they've each got their own unique demo experience, but he can look across the spectrum into the demo analytics, what we call Demolytics, to see how they interact with the demo, what's important to them, and see if there's alignment or misalignment in the buying panel. This is a really powerful aspect of an intelligent demo automation platform, is being able to discover and engage that buying panel and get the intelligence through analytics to help you further follow up and close the sale. So a quick view right here of how that looks. And I'll show you more of that in just a minute. You can also see what prospects are engaging the most with the demos that he's sending out. And beyond that, he can drill down into individual experiences and see specific analytics on specific prospects. In aggregate, DemoChamp displays management dashboard, so sales managers can look at Demolytics and see how their salespeople how they're sending out the demos, how the prospects are engaging with them, and how they're sharing the demos as well. And then for product marketing managers, Demolytics can actually aggregate those analytics in a way that you can see what's the most popular in your feature set, what's least popular across all your prospects. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute. But if we get back to John, and what happens in this scenario is, by the time that first sales conversation rolls around on Friday, that appointment, everybody in the buying panel has watched the demo, they've talked about it, and they're ready to start into closing conversations. And the first time this happened to us, after we started using DemoChamp ourselves, when the product was initially done, it was like a lightning bolt. It was transformational. I've been in B2B sales for a long time, and when you can get in your first conversation, everybody in the buying panel on the same call, and they've all seen the demo, it's absolutely amazing. You just move directly to closing conversations. And at the beginning, when we started using it ourselves, we weren't even quite sure how to do it properly, because we're ready to show them some more things, or dive into other things, and they're just ready to move into, how can we implement this, what's the pricing, and so on. So the idea with an intelligent demo automation platform is not just that they're getting these videos, but that you're able to have visibility into what's important to them, what isn't, how they interact with it, who they share it with, so that you get many of the same benefits that you would in a live demo, but it's all automated. So if you look at how this impacts John and his scenario, he and his reps are able to reduce the time they spend with their customers on those calls from 45 to 60 minutes down to 25 to 30 minutes. That gives them instantly the ability to handle twice as many people in their pipeline and have twice as many calls in a day in that same 4-hour period. Not only that, he's able to reduce the number of times he has to demo from, say, 3 times to 2 times on average. So I'm not saying that in every case everybody's going to watch the demo. Sometimes some people won't. And you're still going to have to do it, but if you can reduce that number of times you have to demo by even 1 or 2 times, it's a huge productivity increase. And if you combine these efficiencies, John's able to handle 84 prospects now per rep rather than 28. It's a 300% increase. So you can see through this use case how an intelligent demo automation platform can create massive sales productivity increases. But not only that, you have a more consistent message across the board. You have the ability to ramp up sales more quickly because salespeople can start, in essence, demoing right away. And you have the ability to shorten that sales cycle. So he's able to get this productivity increase because we're converting all of this repetitive demoing into more closing conversations. They're spending more of their time closing rather than more of their time demoing. And they're able to engage that buying panel early in the purchasing decision process so that they can follow up and close the sale faster, and that shortens the sales cycle. So I'm going to ask you a couple of other questions now related to this. So let me pull up one other poll question. I'd like to know from you how in your organization you do product demos today. Is it live, face-to-face? You still doing that, flying out to sites? Are you doing inside sales over the internet using WebEx and GoToMeeting, that sort of thing? Are you using some use of pre-recorded video, heavy use of pre-recorded video? So we'll have everybody vote here and then share the results with you. So video has been around a long time, obviously, and it's very helpful. As we talked about, 85% increase in likelihood people purchase. The challenge is you put it on YouTube, you don't know if you send them a link, say, hey, check out our video here on our website or on YouTube or whatever. You don't know if they watched it, you don't know if they rewatched it, you don't know if they shared it or who they shared it with. It doesn't really personalize to their unique interests. They may drop out of sometimes I talk to people that have webinars. They'll take a webinar like this and record it and call it their product demonstration. and then send a link. I got a link from another company, a vendor we were talking to, and they sent me a link to a webinar that was 1 hour and 10 minutes. And you know, it's difficult to sort through that and say, oh, you know, how do I find the relevant information in there in that long webinar? And so that's where the difference between kind of an intelligent platform and just straight video. Okay, so quite a few of you have voted, so I'm going to close the poll and share the results with you. So 10% of you are still doing kind of face-to-face. Half of you are making use of the internet to do live screen sharing. Some of you are using pre-recorded video, and a small percentage are really using a lot of pre-recorded video. So great, thanks for sharing that. One other question at this point: who does the product demo today at your organization? So is it the sales rep? Do you have some kind of sales engineer, a dedicated product demoer, or is it some other kind of situation there? We've got about half of you voted on that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share the results here. So as you can see, about 2/3 of you have dedicated product demoers, as often called sales engineers, and then you've got about 1/3 of you where the sales reps are doing the demo themselves. I just talked to a software company here in Utah that had 12 full-time people doing live product demos. They're pretty excited about the options around helping to make that a little more efficient. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of show you how the DemoChamp as an intelligent demo automation platform works and looks. And after this webinar, we'll actually send you a product demo of DemoChamp. You can choose to watch it or not, but we'll just send that out in case you want to take a look at that. But I'll do some live demoing of that as part of this webinar today. So give me just a moment while I pause my screen and jump over to our product. Okay, so I'm going to start by just showing you a simple example of a demo itself, so you understand how DemoChamp works from the perspective of somebody taking the demo. So you can optionally have an intro video at the beginning, and an intro video is often used to just give the main value proposition. It's usually a minute or less and says, hey, here's what we do, here's why we exist in the world, and here is why you should care. And then, and I'm not going to go through and actually show you the specific videos, but in this sample, we have just some generic features. So after the intro video, or if you just have them skip the intro video altogether, you're going to have a list of features or benefits here that are relevant to your prospects. And so they get to indicate what's important. So I'll just say that feature 1 is somewhat important to me, and feature 2 is very important, and feature 3 is, let's say, not important. And of course, you can have, these are all custom, these are your features in your product, and you can have as many as you want here, although we don't recommend having more than 7 or 8 as a list. Notice off to the side during the demo, you always have some kind of call to action. That call to action might be to share it if you already know who they are, or if you're using it for lead gen on your website, it might be to contact me. At any time, they can click contact me and fill out the form and kind of submit a lead. And those can be integrated with, you know, other kinds of CRMs and so on, so the lead flows into your existing systems. You might have other kinds of call to action buttons that exist on the demo. Might be a buy now if you've got a really small deal size and you're trying to automate the whole sales process. Or you might have start a free trial, or you can have custom call to action buttons. Once they respond to the personalization engine questions, let's see the effect here. What happens is we've got long video segments for things that are very important. we've got somewhat shorter segments for somewhat important, then we skip over things that are not important. Like a good salesperson, I'm going to lead with those things that are very important. So if I click continue, you can see that up here in our customized demo experience, we're starting with the second feature because the prospect indicated it was very important. Then we're going to jump to the first feature. Notice that it's playing the longer video first, and then after this video is done, it's automatically going to go, and it shows the total demo time here. It's automatically going to jump to the next video in the segment. So they get this seamless experience, and at the end it gives them an option to even see the stuff that they said was not important to them. And depending on how you set things up, you can have the contact form show up and so on. There's different ways of doing that. Notice that there are documents down here that can be preloaded and downloaded. These documents can be gated, so you can only allow them to be downloaded if they sign up and so on. At the end of the demo, the call to actions move into the center and so on. So let's give you a sense for how the demo works from a prospect's point of view. So what happens on the back end, this is in a lead gen kind of use case. You put it on your website. Leads flow into this leads area. So if we come in here and look at a custom range, which we don't use this one too often because it's just for demoing ourselves. So I'm going to come back here and put in a list of, we may have some leads in that area. So I didn't pick a long enough swath. Let me try a different demo here. Oh, yeah, it did. They're just taking a while to come up. So you can see the leads show up here, and you actually get some indication as to whether or not they're engaging with your demo, right? How much they engage. You can drill down and see what was important to them. So if we drill down and look, you can see, oh, this is the heat map for that particular person. And the heat map itself will actually show if they've rewatched certain aspects of the demo. You can see what they marked as very important, somewhat important. So when you follow up with that lead, pretty amazing information that you can use to help position the conversation with them to see if it's your product is the right fit for them. If I look at sending demos out to people, so the use case I just showed you there is using DemoChamp as a lead gen tool on your website, but I can also use it to send demos out. And so I can look in here and it'll tell me who they shared it with, how much time they spent, and so on. Let's see if I can get some better data here. But you can drill down on the individual shares and so on. See if we have anything better in this one. Oh, that's just a 1. So in the use case where you are sending out demos, you already know who they are, and your main goal there is to get them to watch it and to share it with other people. As you can see the number of shares over here. I'm going to share an example from a different account. Let me just jump over to that account. Give me just a second. Maybe the best way to do this is I'll share go back to this screen because I think with this highlight it'll be even more effective. So the pictures are here just for illustration. You're normally just getting what date they viewed it, but this kind of helps you see that we're getting views from all of the people in the buying panel and what their titles might be, and what was important to them and not important. And then you can drill down on the individual viewing details. What's really interesting about this is when you've got people in the buying panel, it'll help you see alignment across the interests in the buying panel, what aligns and what doesn't. And you're more able to address those kinds of concerns and follow up in that live conversation. So again, the goal is not to replace salespeople as much as it is to make those live conversations more effective. So I do want to show you another screen here. This is our own demo. You can look at the aggregate analytics. So we not only have analytics, the Demolytics, sent back to the salesperson that sends out the demos, but also we can aggregate them. And so if you look at what was marked not important the most, right? So this one here was marked not important the most in our own demo. That's interesting to know, isn't it? And then what is marked very important the most, right? These are really close, how personalization works and how you create demos. And you're able to look at this across all the demos that were viewed in a certain time frame and get aggregate data that helps you with product marketing. So an intelligent demo automation platform is not going to just serve up videos, right? There are a lot of video service providers. It's going to personalize the content to your prospect's unique interests. It's going to notify you, have notifications. It's going to aggregate, it will provide you analytics as they share it and as they watch it, and it's going to allow you to aggregate those analytics into meaningful data that you can use to refine your messaging or what you lead with and so on. So just to recap, if we go back to John here, right? He's able to have these increases, these massive increases in productivity because he's spending less time demoing, more time closing, and he's able to engage the buying panel early in the sales process so that all that education happens very early on and quickly, and that helps shorten the sales cycle. So intelligent demo automation is going to help you have more consistency from rep to rep. It's going to make your sales team massively more productive. And not to mention that having video as part of your solution increases their likelihood to purchase. You're also going to be able to engage the buying panel more effectively, peel back the layers on who's making those decisions. And ultimately, the bottom line, of course, is to increase your revenues. So that gives you a quick overview of the problems related to live product demos, I think, and how we can resolve those, a lot of those, with intelligent demo automation platforms. And hopefully I've given you some detail into how DemoChamp works. Like I said, we'll send you out a demo of DemoChamp so you can experience a demo for yourself. So thanks again for joining today, and hope you all have a great rest of your